sound is music and that the world around us is also musical, a huge musical instrument, and that there's no silence, and even the moments that we think are silence, there's music going on, and there's even within our bodies. This idea of thinking of the world as an instrument, and awareness and joy of the sounds around you. Growing up in a conservatory playing violin and also making electronic music, those two worlds are very exclusive in their own ways because of the tools that you use. Like, you have to have some money to buy a violin, you have to have some money to buy a computer, or you have to have certain skills to play either of the two. And that's also why I'm drawn to these non-conventional instruments, because they're accessible to everyone. I was a violin student, but I spent way more time in the harp room of the conservatory, under the harp, like recording with a little Zoom recorder, every sound I could find, just being a violinist in front of an orchestra, which a lot of my colleagues that were really talented, that was their path, and I always felt very out of place. And as I started discovering other instruments, I realized that what I wanted to do was to write for all the instruments. So this I got at the Brooklyn Flea, and it's the inside of a grandfather's clock. And also this kind of thing. I have a lot of music boxes that I've collected over the years, and I play them in many different ways. It's more of a percussive thing. Some bells, which I love, like tap bells, because they're so out of tune. Depending on how I move it, then I get different sounds too. Nostalgia definitely has a big impact on my music. I'm drawn to sounds that are used a lot in childhood, like toy instruments and music boxes. They're always out of tune, they have like this little noises. Those things for me are much more interesting. It's also kind of a way for me to understand moments of childhood that I never quite understood. So there's a little bit of curiosity, but also mystery. I've always been really interested in electronic music, and I write a lot of electronic music but using acoustic sources and found sounds. It's always been kind of for me a challenge to bring that to a live setting in a way that's meaningful to me and that can connect to the audience and that is also engaging for people to see. I've always been wondering and looking for other kind of alternative ways of presenting electronic music. As soon as I found this synthesizer that lets you make music with anything that conducts electricity, then that kind of opened up my world of possibilities. I could use anything as a trigger for a sound. So I started exploring a little bit with that. I try to find vegetables or fruits that match the textures of the songs. I do love cauliflower, Romanesco broccoli, vegetables that have kind of a design element. I call it a vegetable synth. I have an idea of what it's going to look like. But when I go shopping, there's not this kind of broccoli that I really wanted, so I might adjust and then go with the flow of what I find. But I try to coordinate it so that it all looks like part of the same instrument. This is nice. These little guys. Oh, yes. 3, 4. When you play something like vegetables as an instrument, besides the fact that it's something that's not seen often and people are curious about it, it also has this kind of access to it, more immediacy and connection to the audience. It's really nice for me to talk about music and talk about instruments without this kind of barrier in the middle of like something that's oh well, you know, the technique of this is, you know, you have to study years for learning that. For me, it reminds me of why I'm doing it in the first place, which is because it brings joy to my life.